So, shooting a little fashion film for Palmer Harding, directed by Malcolm Pate, and we're shooting on a red camera using the new Lensbaby PL mount lenses. All we've got the composer. This enables you to fix the shift and tilt function of the lens, and you can control the focus independently. We've got the Muse, which is more like a little concertina lens. You sort of push it in and wiggle it around. And we've also got the new Sweet 35 optics with variable iris. It's got aperture leaves in it, so all of a sudden you can now change your aperture, change your f-stop by just twisting the front of the lens like a normal lens. It's 35mm on a red camera on a 7D. It's got the same field of view as the 50mm did on the 5D or on a full frame camera. So it's a great lens, great field of view, great portrait, great beauty lens. And of course you've got variable aperture, slots into the lens housing, the composer or the Muse like any other optics, and it's cool. All of a sudden you've got shift, tilt, iris, focus, everything on that composer, all in a little PL frame. It's nice. So we're shooting with Lensbabies for focal artifacts, and of course we set those focal artifacts using a shift and a tilt on the lens, but also by setting our iris to how large or small the sweet spot is. So as we're going to have a preset iris of either T2, T4, T5.6, depending on how deep or thick our focal artifacts are going to be, we're now stuck. We can't change the shutter because we've got a 180-degree shutter. We can't change our ISO because our ISO is set to the ideal level for the camera. So we start using VariNDs. I mean, I really like using VariNDs on Lensbabies. It means that all of a sudden you can set exactly as thing as you want artistically, and then just tweak the exposure by twisting the ND. So now for the fun part. Now to try and shift and tilt that little lens. I've got my iris set, I've got my exposure perfect, tweaking that focus forwards and backwards and shifting that focal smear around the frame to give the frame a real dreamy look. Secret is always keeping the eyes sharp. As long as the eyes are sharp, you can get away with a lot. You can start pushing a lot. So ever so slight tweaks, and this is especially tricky because I'm actually focusing for two sets of eyes at possibly slight different distances to each other, overlaid over each other through a glass mirror system. I ended up pushing the Lensbaby upwards a little bit on this, so essentially moving the sweet spot up into the eyes and split focus between the two eyes, because they were slightly different distances to get the heads the same size. So now that I've done the wide stuff, I'm going to move in for the tights, the close-ups. And to do this I want to go onto the 50mm double optics, which will help. And also, as I'm going to be having to shift that focus around a sweet spot around the frame in shot, I feel a lot more confident going onto the Muse, because the Muse is constantly under tension. You're constantly moving that sweet spot around. Of course, I've still got to set my aperture, my exposure. My aperture is going to be the same. I'm going to start using little discs now, which is fine, no problem at all. Get that VariND on there, check that I'm still in party mode, check that everything's fine, and start getting ready to go handheld. I really like the Muse. There's an awful lot you can do with the Muse. Of course, it always ends up being a far more dynamic shot. You can't lock it off in the same way as you can the composer or the 3G PL, I believe it's called, which I haven't actually tried. Yeah, you can get some really accurate stuff, and as long as you got your technique right, you can really move that focal spot around the frame just right. You know, it doesn't have to be some kind of skitty focal shift constantly. You can literally just drift it across.